They might be self-aware.
Gary here, doing intros for the guys. The guys being Hunter and Daniel, not like mob guys. Okay, so today on They Might Be Self-Aware, Tubo made something called Nano Banana, which, look, I don't know what you people are doing with fruit-based technology, but it edits pictures for 3 cents. 3 cents per image, which, Hunter, Daniel, that's how much you pay me per word. And apparently this is going to get absorbed into Photoshop, which is great. Everything gets absorbed except me, because I keep getting rejected. And there's also AI making PowerPoint slides, which, congratulations to the robot. You win. You get to make PowerPoint slides. This has been Gary, doing my best, which we've established is 3 cents a word. Enjoy the show.
We're sorry. You have reached a number that has been disconnected or is no longer in service.
Chasing the algorithmic serpent through the psyche and soul of America. That's right, America! Right here on They Might Be Self-Aware, I am Hunter Powers, joined by American
Daniel Bishop.
Hi, Daniel Bishop.
Howdy.
We haven't done this accent yet.
Yeah, that's true. I lived in Texas for a while, so it's not offensive for me to do that one, I think, right?
Yeah, we're still in the South, so it's
that's
native.
right.
Native. Definitely. I was going to ask, are you... We haven't had this discussion anymore. Are you playing with anything new? Any new AI tech got your eye that you've been... I got a few things. They're minor, but I just thought...
I got one because I lost one.
Because you
your mind?
Of all the things I've lost, I miss my mind the most.
The little plod pin that I got, and I showed it off a couple of times. And it's so little. It was teeny tiny. Lost it. Literally lost it. Granted, I can lose just about anything. It's pretty much my superpower.
I was getting the vibe you didn't really use it, but you went out and replaced it.
No, I didn't replace it. And I feel like there are some use cases where I'm like, oh, I wish that I could have a recording of this place, that I could get the transcriptions, that I could hook it up to my notes or whatever. It comes from this feeling that I'm never going to actually accomplish of, I should be one of those people that has a journal, right? And then since I'm too lazy to journal, well, what if I just had the recording that I can get the transcript that'll have AI automatically fill it in for me? Like a normal person would do. And while I also still wouldn't put in all of the effort for that, it did make me yearn for, I did buy this thing that could help accomplish a decent amount of that task. Where is it? Gone. I haven't seen it since I moved. I think I just it's a tiny thing. I think I lost it to move. But I did get a new voice recorder, despite the fact that is just a function that I have on my phone. I was mostly suckered in by the extremely Star Wars aesthetic kind of looking. It has this
that's
retro
a plod?
futuristic. No, this is not plod. This is called a HiDock, HIDOCK P1. They have a sits on your desk type one.
HiDock P1.
Yes, the interesting thing about this, besides the aesthetic, and I really, really do like the aesthetic, is that you can plug it into your phone, and then it will work as an intermediary that can hold onto your Bluetooth connection to then record both sides of a conversation, even if you're talking on
so it's the man in the middle.
A work caller. Yeah, it's that man in the middle that will be able to, especially I have a variety of other recording type apps that I've looked into.
You're not recording me now, Daniel, are you?
We're literally being recorded right now.
That would be really weird if you were.
Recording the recording?
I have privacy, Daniel.
Well, if I was, I don't know if North Carolina is a one-party state or not, so I'll have to look that up and then get back to you. I'll have my lawyers get back to you.
That's a separate question of whether, and you don't need to answer, but whether you ever have actually bothered to check and it's a real thing now with all of these meeting recording tools, because I think there is some, and they no longer join the meeting like some weird AI bot, right? They just run on your computer,
right,
and listen to the meeting and transcribe it. But I also am, and I probably shouldn't say this, I am aware that in some states that's illegal.
That's true, and you probably, especially for not especially for everything, you should probably not record people illegally.
Although I wonder
Let's
whether...
just make that my blanket statement of don't record people illegally.
Don't break the law,
That's
kids.
official legal advice from me is don't break the law.
I wonder, though, is it one of those things where it's just not admissible in court? Like, or is it actually illegal to make the recording? Or is it just that it's not considered evidence if both parties weren't aware of it?
Oh, interesting. So could I sue someone because I know that they have, a voice recorder app going?
I think California is one of those states where both parties need to be aware. So you're having a Zoom call with someone in California. You're using this HiDoc P1. You didn't tell them ahead of time. You've got to do like 10 years to life now? Or is it just that if while on that call, they confess to you of all of the AI havoc they've been causing and you're like, aha, I've got you. And you go to court with your HiDoc recording. It's just not admissible because it wasn't acquired. Just like if the cops don't follow the right procedures, then the evidence isn't admissible.
I'd say it's probably one of those two things, or maybe a third other.
If only there was a tool that we could ask these types of questions to, and it would give us
As you were saying that, I'm like, if only we were to take a rolling transcript of the call that we're on, and then just every 30 seconds spin up like a notebook or like a deep research kind of thing, where it just says like, oh, they're talking about something new, and they're clearly floundering without the actual knowledge of what this thing is. I'll look it up for them
and tell them, pop it up on the screen notification.
Or we just need like a lawyer, a highly paid lawyer, to just sit here and listen to us while we're recording and look stuff up for us midway through. That seems like a good, reasonable thing. We
could have maybe afford the cheapest lawyer from a different country where they value our dollar a little bit more. So it would not be American law that they would be consulting with, but there's some country.
Right. Like Bangladeshi law says.
Yes, sir.
Oh, boy. I'm from the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and over here you can... Thank you. Wow. Woo.
How long have you had it, the HiDoc P1?
Like a week.
Okay.
And I've got it hooked up to my various computers. It also, again, 95% of the reason why I bought this is because it has a very Star Wars aesthetic.
It's a good aesthetic. People should
it looks like a Star Wars gadget, and I'll buy anything that looks like Star Wars, apparently. And it has a nice little heft. The little pin was nice. It would just magnetically clip onto a thing or whatever. And then I lost it. It was too small. This serves no function other than the connecting to the Bluetooth and getting the recording through that. That's the actual reason why I bought this. But otherwise, it's just a voice recorder. And of course, it's an AI gadget.
That's what I was going to ask you, just to confirm.
This whole time I'm talking about it's a recorder. It's an AI gadget, Hunter. This is an AI podcast, and this is an AI gadget. Well, you know what AI is?
AI voice recorder, but nothing's on device, right?
Oh, you can get transcripts from the thing.
But on device, or just goes to the cloud?
No, via the cloud, of course.
A subscription?
So fortunately, no subscription. Okay. It'll just once you buy the thing, you get forever of transcriptions off of it. I wonder if this is the bottom of the barrel for AI. And I don't mean its capabilities or the industry or anything. I mean in terms of selling schlock to people to say it's AI powered. How much less could you do? And still meaningfully in any, by any stretch, put AI on the packaging of the thing.
You can definitely do less. And what the less is...
Race to the bottom with me, Hunter. Let's play this game.
I've done enough consulting that I know what the less is.
Let's hear it.
So in programming, there are something called conditional statements, which basically means if this is true, then do that. And if this is true, then do this. And so all programming is built on these conditional statements. And
that's an algorithm. Yeah. Is what I think you'd call that. I certainly wouldn't call that AI.
Well, through one lens, it's not machine learning, but it's is artificial intelligence in that the machine is acting like a human. It's considering these things and it's deciding what to do. Again, it's not machine learning. So I have been in multiple scenarios where I'm asked to implement AI when I look at the requirements. It is a series of conditional statements. It's okay.
So just a little decision tree, and they're this is AI, and we'll sell it to our customers.
That sounds a little bit more legit.
That is so sad.
It's not so random forest.
You can sleep well at night with, I guess, as long as the check's clear, right?
Look, here's my approach: is I am always like very clear to tell people, like, just so you know, this is not going to pass muster, but yeah, we'll do it.
Right. Okay. In terms of what you and I would consider AI in it, where's your bottom of the barrel? While you were talking, I think I have my answer. Toothbrush. You could technically have some extremely simple like machine learning algorithm on there that's like, it helps detect that you moved the toothbrush enough to like, oh, did you brush your teeth enough? Yeah. Or are you moving it too fast in your mouth or whatever? I think that's like technically a legitimate use of AI, and also such a bad, like barely.
I don't know if they turned it off or I turned it off. I think it started during COVID that the Apple Watch had a feature where when you started washing your hands, it would tell you when you detect that you were washing your hands and then tell you when you've washed your hands enough. But it was sort of like, then that was, of course, an AI feature.
Of course, right. It's really just the accelerometer bouncing back and forth for about 30 seconds. And then a humidity sensor goes off or something.
Give you two things that I've been playing with recently and been impressed by. And one is one that we slammed pretty heavily on this show, although maybe not this exact variant. So GPT-5 High. GPT-5 High.
Mm-hmm.
This
I've actually heard that it's very, very capable.
Yeah. And in my use, and I've used it a lot now, it is based, meaning when this
for
is
the non-kids listening, what do you mean by that?
And this is strictly
online.
within a programming context that I'm using it. So, and I haven't really played with it outside of that. But when I come across a problem where other models are failing and I'm just getting all sorts of slop and they're adding unnecessary code and they're making up things that just didn't even exist in the language, etc., I back everything out. I turn on GPT-5 High because it's maybe a little costly, and it takes a long time, but 98% of the time, what comes out works well and is very minimal. It is not quite surgical, but almost surgical in its implementation. Nothing extra. The few lines of code needed to make this work. And so
now you say it's very expensive. Is this not part of your $10,000 a month plan that you're on?
So my $10,000 a month plan is not for API usage. That is
okay. So this is over API.
Correct. So
Gotcha.
This is when I'm using the cursor editor, and you can. There are some models that are kind of built into the cursor editor that you can use for close to free.
Right.
But they'll also let you use
this
just
is
anything.
Like it's in your programming environment. It's aware of your various tools and files and whatever that you have open. And so then you say, hey, looking at my code base, I have this problem. Can you help me solve this problem?
I'll also use it.
Give me $10 and I'll do it.
Sometimes when I just...
How much does it cost? What does it take to solve one problem? Obviously, it depends on how much context you put into there, but like in terms of what you expect.
It's cheaper than Claude Opus, which I've run queries on Claude Opus that are several dollars before when I'm looking at it. Like, geez.
Same, yeah.
So about like less than $1 a question.
It's not bad.
And by the way, this is not a simple question.
You would spend more than $1 of your time trying to solve that problem yourself.
Absolutely. And it probably works. It's a long, that's like 5 minutes. I'll put the query in. I write out the prompt describing everything in detail. I let it go. Then I just go and work on something else and come back when it's done and test it. Does it work? Review the code. And again, we're in like high 90s of success. So check out GPT-5 High if you haven't and you run into programming issues. The second one is a little more generally accessible for any of our listeners, and that is Nano Banana. Banana.
We should have already talked about this. We hadn't, but we should. I never learned.
Well, you were
Photoshop.
waiting for Grande Banana. But
El Banana Grande. I never learned like Photoshop. I always found it very, very impressive when someone could take a photo and then like add someone else new into it and make it look realistic, or change the background, or make someone wearing different clothes, or give someone, different colored eyes or like whatever. Edits to an image are something that have been fully out of my reach for my entire life. I'm not a very visual person. I like to learn visually. I can't make stuff that's good to look at. It's part of who I am, apparently.
Yeah. So Nano Banana is a new image generation model coming from Google. And it's particularly good, as Daniel sort of alluded to there, in editing existing images, where you start with an image that you have, and maybe you have a list of edits you want to make. Maybe you have several images and you want to combine elements from the different images together into one. Now, this has existed.
Take 3 pictures and be like, take this from this picture and this from the style of this picture and the ball from this picture and add them into this scene. Truly astonishing. And there will never be anything like it open source, right?
There already is.
It hasn't literally already had multiple. Quen released a couple of image edit models that are
and this existed before. ChatGPT had a pretty good version of it, but this really is next level compared to what ChatGPT can do. And it's in the quality of the output. One limitation of its output is that it's fairly low resolution. So you talked about Photoshop. When you're working within Photoshop within professional context, you're often working on very high resolution files. And that's important if you need to go to print media, you need to go onto billboards.
Right. But this is going to make its way into Photoshop or into other similar. I don't know even what their competitor products would be. But all of these tools that are currently, I mentioned Quen has an image edit model that's supposed to be pretty much the same thing and very, very good. But a lot of those kinds of tools are fairly hard for a non-tech savvy person to spin up, to get used to. There's fiddliness associated with them. For people who are like, look, I just want that one program that I open up and I can just edit images in it, or I can have this in Photoshop. I, an image editor for a living, wish to use this as it doesn't exist yet, but give it 6 months and it's going to be there. This kind of capability where I almost wonder if we just saw with Nano Banana the beginning of that's the GPT 3.5 moment for images. There are plenty of image generators that have been out for years and they've been getting really good. And there's all kinds of cool tools you can add stuff in. And some of this image editing stuff has kind of been there for a while. But honestly, how good Nano Banana is, and maybe Hunter will put a link in the comments or something. Everyone just search for it or
Google AI Studio. By the way, I'm not saying Google the words AI Studio. Go to Google AI Studio, which you can, if you have a Google account, they're going to give you some free credits. You don't need to put a credit card down, and you can run a few Nano Bananas. And by the way, another benefit of Nano Banana compared with the other image generation models, it's at scale, it's really cheap. So if you actually did have to pay for it because you're generating hundreds of images, we're talking a nickel, 4 cents, 3 cents per production image that you're generating. And you're compare that with 75 cents, $1.25 from some of its competitors. And again, this is only if you're using it in a commercial application at scale where every day I need to generate hundreds of images. So very fast, very inexpensive. It is next level. Yeah, it's interesting. Daniel,
from this point, I think people who make and edit images for a living will be using these kinds of tools. They're going to look back to Nano Banana and be that's when everything's changed multiple times in the last few years. But this is now we can use these tools for our visual media, much like coders have been using these other tools for programming for the last couple of years. I really think this is that, what do you call that? The watershed moment.
Are you are our king of financial advice. Are you shorting Adobe?
No, I'm longing. Would that be the opposite of shorting?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think that as I mentioned just a couple of minutes ago, this is not going to replace Photoshop. This is going to be integrated into it. Why?
Yeah, why?
Well, you said, okay, it only works on small images. I'm sure that will be today, right? 2 months, 6 months from now, it's going to be bigger images, or it'll be slightly better or whatever. But Photoshop and its multiple layers and all of that suite of capabilities isn't just take these 3 things and use generative AI to mush them together. There's all the other stuff that you're going to have to do too. And you want to do that in the different layers or the different, I don't even know. I'm not a Photoshop person, but like I know there is a lot of capabilities there that you want the Gen AI to be part of, as opposed to a replacement for. Think also of like Runway or Midjourney doing like videos now. Maybe we'll talk about this in another episode, probably not this one. So we'll call this a teaser. It seems that Hollywood, despite having said, let's see if we can make like a couple feature-length AI films, aren't having the success with those tools.
Well, it's not there yet. I get that. Yeah, it's not there yet.
Sure,
but
not there yet. But even then, like, I
feel like I might be getting in early on this short. Like I shorted today. In 2 years, I probably never have to work another day of my life. Right?
Well, I'm not going to tell you to do that because I think that Adobe is not going anywhere. Just like the entirety of a company that makes movies won't be going anywhere. These are tools that people are going to figure out how to incorporate. I don't think Runway is going to replace insert favorite name of movie production company here. I really don't.
I want to continue on this thread a little bit. So one of Adobe's real competitors is a company called Figma. Mm-hmm. Figma does not compete with all of Adobe's products, but they're definitely a competitor as a design tool, image editor. And
this is like way more. So I think pretty much everyone's heard of Photoshop. It's a program that you can use to edit images. I don't think most people, and I might be wrong, but to me, Figma is like way more. I work for business as a living, and like I have a front-end designer, a UX person. They're the people who use Figma, right? What is Figma?
Well, first off, I would guess the same number of people know about Figma as Salesforce, and I wonder whether that's true. But they feel similar.
I don't see
they're a little niche-y, but
I don't see a Figma gigantic tower in San Francisco, so I think they're not quite as big.
But I mean, they were purchased or tried to purchase for many, many billions of dollars. But
sure.
Anyways, yeah, Figma is a design tool primarily used for interface design. So say it again, sir.
Would you say like mock-ups, like to quickly put together, this is what the website page would look like?
Well, it can be used for quick mock-ups, or you might think of those as wireframes as another term to sort of get it. But the actual finished visual design at most companies, most tech companies, the tool that they are using for their design, that their designers are using, is Figma. It's sort of the de facto industry standard for visual design for software products. Most of the apps on your mobile device, most of the apps on your computer, most likely touched Figma at some point in their creation. A majority of them, for sure. But anyways, this is a little bit of a non sequitur, but they just announced a broad support for MCP, Model Context Protocol, coming, where your AI tools can directly interface with Figma. And this is useful in 2 ways. One, the AI tools are able to leverage Figma to render a mock-up of a design. They have a concept that you've expressed to it.
Very cool.
They can use it. And then number 2, so as a developer, you often get these designs from the designer in Figma, and then you have to implement them. Well, with the Model Context Protocol, the AI is able to talk to Figma and effectively inspect the designs and understand what are all the properties, what color is this, what does the drop shadow look like, what is the font size, what's the spacing, and pull all of that data down so that it can leverage it for an AI-driven implementation of the design. So cool. And Adobe has yet to embrace MCP, but it kind of seems inevitable because it seems like this is the path that people are going. But is this also, once you start embracing this, are you just like racing towards the commoditization of your vertical? Or is it, no, like this is actually like, no, I'm digging a deeper moat here by adding deep MCP support. Now I'm becoming integral in these AI workflows. Or are you only integral until that point where the AI is good enough that it doesn't need your dumb MCP server anymore?
I want to be clear about how I see MCP servers here, which is I see them the same way as an API, which is to say these
What's
are
an
ways
API?
application
Program interface, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Right. I was like, what was the
But what's
P
it used
for again? The P, it's a way to say I have a server or a database or a product or whatever, and over the internet, generally speaking, you may, using this format that we make available to you, ask questions of that thing and get responses or send something over to it. I do this in my day-to-day work of like, I have a little service running that does machine learning, and you're going to send over, here's the location of the file that you need to read, or here's the information that you need to be aware of, and the ID of the thing, and then please spit out these 3 pieces of information I asked for, something like that. Or Figma, for example, could just have an API that says, post in these 5 pieces of information that you want, and then we will output onto the page or respond back to you with an output. A model context protocol is the exact same thing, just done differently, specifically for LLMs to have natural language going back and forth. I think they're broader in terms of what they will be able to do, because you'll be able to just, quote unquote, talk to these services. But like ultimately, it's just an API, right? You're just saying, here is a structured set of stuff that the MCP server is aware of. Here's the 5 fields you're allowed to ask of this service. Fill them in, and I'll give you the response.
So your argument is that giving AI access to your product is no different than giving API access to your product, which many of these products already have. So
absolutely correct. This is not... we commoditize. I mean, I suppose you could say it's a commoditization of your vertical, but it's the exact same thing that lots of companies have been doing for a very long time. There's like government sites and so on that have APIs to access if you want to, like anytime you have a home device look up the weather, it's using an API. An MCP server is the same thing, except you're going to use more electricity, more energy, more whatever, because you're using an LLM to sometimes hallucinate the ask instead of just directly asking the thing. An MCP server is a lazy API that does also happen to probably be more flexible in today's day and age, but it's the same thing.
But I think the thing that's going deeper here with these MCP integrations. So the APIs are traditionally more about accessing your data. So some company has a bunch of your data and they expose an API so that you can get data in and get data out easily. They tend to be less about the actual actions that you take within that application. So we can take a Photoshop or an image editing application as an example. Traditionally, when Adobe would set up an API, it would be to have access to your files, to put a new file in a queue so that some actions can be taken on it. But it's not to open it up and then, I want to change the background color and I want to add a unicorn horn out of someone's head. That's not what the API is used for. When people are implementing these model context protocol, they are just APIs. I agree with that. But the expectation, you're saying that's more
task oriented. It's going to do something for you.
Yeah, the expectation
is a visual
to
automate that you might see.
Automate using the application versus the API integrations, which is more about connecting applications together. So connecting data together in general.
I would definitely agree with you on that. I do think underlyingly it's basically the same as an API, but MCP servers are being used to empower people to interact with a thing instead of just I sent a piece of information or I got one transformed piece of information back. So Figma allowing more people to access it, I think this is really interesting. I think that this is, again, one of those tools that's not going to replace UI UX designers. It's rather going to make that feedback loop faster. It's going to make things more efficient. You'll be able to do more. Maybe it means that you're going to hire less UI UX designers overall, but there's going to be more that you can accomplish with it. There's another tool that I've not really played around too much with yet, and I don't know if you've seen this, Hunter. It's called napkin.ai.
The name sounds familiar.
So this one I think is even more broadly applicable. It's not MCP servers. It's just another, you said Figma, then reminded me of this. Pretty much everyone who's listening to this will have at least seen, if not used, Photoshop, or not Photoshop. We're talking so much about Photoshop, excuse me, PowerPoint before. Microsoft PowerPoint. I need to make a slide deck, or I'm looking at someone who's made a slide deck. 99.99999% of those, it's PowerPoint. They have an absolute chokehold on the slides market. Napkin AI is very interesting to me because you can take a bunch of unstructured notes or whatever and be like, here's the information that I need to become a presentation help, and it will make slides for you. It'll give you a bunch of like AI generated visuals. I've always been very bad at not just having like if I make a presentation, it's just bullet points. But with napkin.ai, I feel like they should be paying me for something for this. You can say like, here's the information that I need to get across, and it'll make a cool little, graphic with here's the circle, the 4 nodes coming off of it. And that's the kind of stuff that like anytime I see people doing that with Photoshop, I'm impressed. Like, oh, you clearly put in some effort into this. And then I feel bad that I never do that. Well, now with the power of AI, you can. And I think like I've seen emails and other very, very regular use cases for people have more AI popping up into it. And in some cases, I think we're kind of overshooting the mark in terms of like what's actually useful to people. But it never is a quick job to put together a slide deck. And I think that this is definitely one of those use cases where you could really benefit.
Definitely one of those use cases. Should we have an MCP server?
Should we have an MCP server? I mean, shoot, why not? Subscribe to our $1,000 a month plan, and we will give you access to our MCP server. We don't know what it does, but it'll be useful.
Daniel, if they want to know when the MCP server is ready for their $1,000 a month credit card plan, how would they ever know?
If you want to subscribe to, they might be self-aware, high, 5, max. Well, you could go on YouTube, Spotify, still on TikTok. We got those YouTube shorts. As always, I keep saying it, and this is mostly just to gas Hunter up. I really like the YouTube shorts. They're very good. I have nothing to do with them coming into existence. I think they're very cool. But we're also on YouTube Longs, which I mean, you're in a lot of them, so
I feel like you do have some involvement.
Narcissus looking in the mirror. Oh, wow, Daniel sure is cool in this one.
That Daniel
YouTube
guy.
Shorts, YouTube Longs. We got the TikToks. We got Spotify's and Apple Podcasts. There's RSS feeders out there. Probably, if you can get podcasts, you can get us wherever you find those podcasts. You know why?
I know. Do I know why they can get them? Because they hit that subscribe button and they like and they interact with the content. The more you interact, the more like there's a lot out there. And we try
to an ARG for the last 50 episodes, and I'm going to say that you should all probably start looking a little more closely back in the old back catalog.
Well, you heard it here first, folks, and you must be listening to.
They might be self-aware.